everyone, I'm Dr. D. I'm a clinical psychologist specializing in transgender care. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about, I want to share with you a caution that I think is important to consider when you are starting to explore your gender. This is going to be a specifically video. If you're watching this, this is actually a video specifically for anybody who identifies as trans woman, trans female, who is really identifying as a trans binary female. So I'll be talking about specifically to that group of individuals, just so that you know. And I want to share with you a cautionary thing about cross-dressing or expressing yourself in a feminine clothing in the beginning of your gender expression that you can do in private. And why am I throwing out that cautionary tale and something I want to share that with you, because I think what I'm going to talk today about is some of you have already experienced, and it may have the experience may have really scared you, and I want to share with you why that may have scared you. So what am I talking about? In the beginning of gender exploration, what some of the trans women tend to do is, especially if you're older, because if you're older, that means that you have kept your gender authenticity that much longer caged up. If you're older, it means that you spend that much more time overcompensating with your biological sex, and most likely you have engaged in, on some level, some masochistic behavior that I talk about in my other video in terms of keeping your authentic gender in cage. I would say caged up, locked up in a room inside internally. So this is especially going to be today when I'm talking about very, very relevant to older individuals. But if you're younger, please watch it because it's important to also learn about this. So what happens in the beginning is when we become aware about our trans identity, or we've been aware of it for a long time, but we've been scared to share it, and we start to feel a little bit ready to do something about it. Usually one of the first things people tend to do is cross-dressing purge. Cross-dressing purge is just that is. You suddenly go online, you buy a lot of feminine clothing, it gets delivered to your house, you get excited, and the minute you are alone in the privacy of your home, you put it all on. So that is cross-dressing purge. It's something that tends to happen in private. It's something that and the reason why it happens in private is because you're not out yet, right? So you haven't shared with anybody your trans identity. You are still afraid to embrace your trans identity, but yet you have this urge to embrace your femininity. You have this urge to embrace your inner self, and cross-dressing in privately is one of the things that can satisfy that urge. So this is what happens, right? So you buy all of the things, you're home alone, you're by yourself, and you put on, and usually is the feminine clothing is like hyper feminine clothing. In my experience, it's usually lace lingerie and pantyhose, dresses, a bra, makeup, perfume. It's very hyper feminine things. So what happens is you put all of this clothing on and get really in touch and close to your true inner feminine, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And some people can handle it. Some people, they get such an amazing surge of relief from it, both psychological and physiological, that a lot of times may lead to sexual arousal, that can lead to orgasm. I talk about it in a video on the difference between cross-dressing and the individual who identifies trans and why that happens. So that can lead to that, and all of that can feel really good. You can feel very satisfied. If you fall into this category of everything going really well for you and feeling really good and feeling like your dysphoria has been alleviated, usually what you'll do is you'll have a great evening, you'll take your clothes off, and then you'll do it again. Now, I'm cautioning against the second group of people to whom something else happens. And what happens is this: you put on all of this clothing and you get really good and you feel very comfortable, and then you look at yourself in the mirror. And whereas the first group of people will look at themselves in the mirror and they'll feel good and affirmed and in touch with themselves, you look at yourself in a mirror and all you see, and you can't help yourself, but all you see is, and this is what your head tells you, your head says, oh my God, I'm just a man in a dress. I'm just a man in all of this feminine clothing. I'm just a man in makeup. I will never pass. I look hideous. I look horrible. And by the way, this is what's happening. It's not you who's talking to you in your head. It's internalized transphobia, societal cultural transphobia, the social toxic way of looking at trans individuals, the social toxic, disgusting way of dehumanizing trans people into everything I just said. I'm not going to repeat it because it's horrific. It makes me uncomfortable to even say it. But this is what some of you feel. And this is why I'm cautioning you. If you're thinking about engaging in cross-dressing, I'm cautioning you that this might happen, so you're aware of it. But this is why I'm also sharing this with you, because I know that some of you who are watching this have had this experience, and I want to tell you why you had this experience. Sadly, what happens, you feel so disgusted with yourself, so guilty and so ashamed. You take all of your clothes off, you burn it, you get rid of it, you throw it away, or you hide it away, and you don't touch it. You don't even go into cross-dressing for another 6 months, maybe even a year. And the reason why this is bad and dangerous is because that internalized transphobia, that social, cultural garbage, regresses you to the point where you're not doing anything about your gender dysphoria. And it regresses you because you feel guilty, you feel ashamed, and you can't get an image of yourself out of your head. And you continue to carry this image in your head that you saw of a man who is never going to pass as a woman. That's how you see it, a man who will never pass as a woman. And it's a wrong message you send to your psyche, and it's not your fault. It's not your fault. The challenge is that this is the thing with expressing ourselves, and I always say that, especially for trans women, the expression of your femininity through clothing has to be gradual. It has to be slow. First, you want to start with the hormones, so that way that you can ease in, and then as you start with the pronouns and name, and you embrace yourself more and more, it has to be gradual. When it's not gradual like this, some people can't handle it. Some people can handle it, and they're like, I can see that I don't pass yet, and I'm going to work on it, and it's totally fine. It gives me so much relief. I love wearing all of these clothes. If you fall into that camp, good for you. But some people, the transphobia, internalized transphobia, and by the way, all of us have it, just comes to the surface, and it can scare the hell out of you. It can scare you because it can yank the hope out of you. It can yank the possibility out of you of ever transitioning or ever passing. Well, let me tell you something. I have seen over 6 feet individuals who were football players, pass into beautiful women. So it's really transition, like I always say, so individualized, right? So it's really what you're going to put into it to get out of it. But don't let those cross-dressing experiences scare you and regress you to the point where you can't do anything about it. If you're watching this and you know what I'm talking about, you probably have felt this regression where you felt so guilty, so ashamed, not good about yourself. You got rid of all the purging clothing until you really needed to feel it again, and then you repurchased things again, and then you went through the same cycle again. The cyclical thing of purging can feel very overwhelming. The cyclical cycle of purging is overwhelming because you're also not doing anything else in your life. This is why it's all or nothing, all or nothing, all or nothing. And it's not the best way to approach things. This is why you want to ease into things so that way you can build up your internal sense of self versus having this all inner nothing, inner nothing, inner nothing. And I know that some people have no choice. Inner nothing is the only thing they have got. But if you've been in this category, or if you're thinking about embracing your trans identity and you're not out to anybody yet, but you're thinking about just purging on clothing and your feminine expression, be mindful that this might happen. Be mindful that transphobia might come up. If it comes up, remind yourself that it's just transphobia. It's not really, this is just the nasty voice in your head that has been socially implanted there from our cultural, toxic view of what a trans individuals are, which is horrible and wrong. And just be prepared that that might happen. But this shame and guilt that come up again, it's a cultural shame and guilt. So that's what I want to talk today about. I want to talk about discussionary things, about cross-dressing and how it can infuse this type of transphobia, can really scare and regress you. And I don't want you to feel scared and regressed, because I don't want you to spend another even, and I don't even want you to spend, guys, another minute not being who you are, because it's just not worth it. In my opinion, it's just not worth it. I know it's really, really hard. I know a lot of times I'd really, because I strongly believe that life is too short, and I strongly believe that all of you deserve to be who you are and to be happy. Because of that, I a lot of times want you to just be yourself. And I know that what I'm asking might not be always possible to all of you, depending where you live, what your accessibility to things are, how safe your environment is. So always exercise your best judgment on your end as well. So comment below, let me know if you ever engaged in cross-dressing, if you experienced this effect where you were just so freaking scared, completely freaked out by the incongruency you experienced, that you were so in a mirror that it regressed you. Or if not, if it felt amazing and affirming and wonderful for you, share that as well. Or if you experienced the incongruency but weren't really scared, how did you handle it? Because I think people would love to hear and see your comments. And I'll see you guys all next time. Bye.